Are we recorded? Okay, great.
Now we are recording. Welcome to the Red Couch at Cohen. I'm so glad you're here.
Cheers. And it's morning here in sunny Southern California. And
You know why I'm so glad that you're here? Because I think you are my inspiration. And
oh,
why I even do this is
this
because I
sounds like a
learned,
song. Wait.
yeah, you are my inspiration. Is a song, but I think just used I used I used the wrong tunes now. Maybe it comes back to me in the time of our talk here. But it's probably the first time in a long time that I get to interview you because usually it's the other way around. So, Ed, tell us a fun fact about yourself.
A fun fact. Yes. Well, well, today, Joanne and I are going to drive 3.5 hours into the desert, the California desert, to Palm Desert, it's called, which is a part of the Palm Springs area.
Uh-huh.
And we're going to spend 4 or 5 nights there,
Wow,
catch up with some friends, and hang out.
sounds beautiful.
Warm, warm weather.
That sounds beautiful. I remember the song now. Shall I sing it?
Yes, please.
It's like, you're the meaning in my life. You're the inspiration.
This is wow.
Recognize it?
Yeah, thank you.
I don't know who it is from right now, but we will
Yes.
find that out. I'm sure somebody will comment on it.
Well, I remember you were one of my first guests 5 years ago, almost to the day.
Tell me.
Well, that's when I launched Global TV.
Mm-hmm.
Because of COVID crashing into my 30 years of doing live meetings and events in person. And I
Yeah.
was at that time afraid of Zoom. I didn't know whether my nose would be too big or what, you know? So, so then because uh, my meetings disappeared, uh, I decided that's it. New life, new challenge. I'm going to become a happy TV talk show host. So I started watching old YouTube uh, r- movies or TV shows from the past, watching the newscasters of
Mhm.
how they look in the camera
Mhm.
and look really comfortable on screen, and how they would interview somebody with either side by side or on screen. And I'm studied that. And so what you're seeing is a mirror of what I was looking at.
And I
And
have to
then it
say,
and then it became a pattern. I didn't have to think about it, just doing it.
yeah, and I have to say, I mean, at that time, you might think that you were not practiced or something, but you were already a pro. Because when I originally met you, and I don't even remember when that was, at probably 2010 or something, you were facilitating a panel. And you have this amazing gift of bringing people together, making sure everybody's heard in the room, having these little nuggets of how you introduce people to each other. But I would say in the last 5 years, since you started the TV talk, you have perfected this so that now things come across so naturally. There's no staging, there's no practicing. It's just a natural flow in the conversation. It's so admirable and it's usually very deep as well. So I really love these shows. It's amazing.
Thank you. That's almost embarrassing. So I I learned from you, and I'm still learning from you because you have a niche. And uh, at first, I thought, I don't, maybe I was wrong, but that you were just focusing in on spouses and getting them acclimated or to step out of themselves or what they thought. And I never heard of the imposter syndrome before, but that was what that was all about,
Mhm.
and still is to this day. There's so many, mostly women, not all, but guys too, but
Oh yeah.
mostly women. They're afraid of being seen on camera.
No.
They wonder about how they're appearing or what they're saying or not saying. They don't want to appear to be stupid or misinformed. And they there's a mountain that is blocking their mental walking path, if you will.
Yeah.
In other words, getting comfortable and just being themselves. And there's a few ladies out there, today, like Mahibi Hill. She's excellent at that, helping mostly women get over that mental block and step into a new world.
I can tell you there's also a lot of men who suffer from imposter syndrome.
Ah, okay.
It might show a little bit different though. And then Ed, now you mentioned, you started because with the TV talk show, you started because of the pandemic. But why do you actually do what you do? What drives you? What gets you up in the morning? I'm sure
This is
it's
my,
not just to earn money.
uh, I wish I could earn more, but
Are we all? Aren't we all?
yeah. So, and hang on to it. So that's the key. So, or make it multiply
Mhm.
somehow. Okay, so this is a happy place in my mind. And speaking with you without spending $5,000 to get to be with you, air travel, hotels, whatever it costs to be with you in Zurich. I'd love to go to Zurich. I know Joanne is saying, when do we go to Switzerland again? So, um, and it doesn't cost anything really other than some time. And so you use it to your advantage by showing who I am, okay, on any given topic. And if I don't know anything about it, I own up to it rather than fake it till you make it. The thing is about the camera, this green light, and I didn't learn it in the last 5 years. I have been selling things on camera for many years, going way back, doing commercials and being a spokesman for companies, PR. So also, when I was a very young man, in late 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, uh, when I got out of the U.S. Army, I just didn't know what I really wanted to do. But I always loved, growing up watching TV and going to movies, movie theaters. I said, geez, how does that business work? I'd like to, not that I want to be in Hollywood. I just want to, I was in Boston,
Mhm.
the diametrically opposite. Okay, so I walked into an office of this entertainment company. Uh, I didn't realize what it was all about. I knew nothing, but I just put myself out there, and I said, I need a job. I just got out of the army, and I love movies, so let me learn your business. Don't have to pay me much, but something. And they hired me, and my job. And so this is a wealthy family-owned company. They owned a lot of real estate, and in some of the real estate, they put movie theaters here and
Oh,
there.
right.
Yeah, okay.
I
So
didn't know that about you. This is new to me.
I wasn't sure how to be open about all that because some people think it's weird, um, then I don't care what they think. So now it's just a straight line into what I'm
Yeah.
doing now.
Yeah.
Okay, many years later. So I worked for the owner's son, who So at that time I was like 25, and when I started in that, or even younger, 24 maybe. Um, so I worked for the owner's son, who at that time was 40, 45, had a young family. Uh, and we had, so I was in his office. We had desks facing each other, and he said, "Do this and do that, and don't do that." And I followed instructions. But in the office was a screening, very, very comfortable, and we watched movies every day. And then my job was to write a critique or a write-up with an eye towards what's it all about and who would appeal to that, who would like and who wouldn't like this story. And with that in mind, which of the theaters that they own would uh, best showcase that, or how can we showcase that movie in the theater to generate money, ticket sales? Okay, so the movie theater company buys or rents a movie on a percentage basis. Sometimes when it's a big production like Tom Cruise or something, they have to come up with a bunch of money to
Okay.
buy the rights to
Okay.
show it, and then they sell tickets and popcorn and things like that. Okay, so some of the theaters were drive-in theaters. Now in New England, in Boston, like in Zurich, Switzerland, winter, a drive-in theater doesn't work. So it sits empty. So, but from like May 1 or so, or April 1 through, say, October, you can show movies every night. And so are you going to show family movies or gangster movies or sex movies or what kind of movies? All
Mhm.
right. And then there's other theaters that are in downtown centers, just say like the big train station in Zurich. Across the street would be a cinema,
Yeah.
okay, which will have two or three screens in a building, right? And inside that theater, they wouldn't show violence. They wouldn't show gangster movies. They'd show some romantic comedy or something, or Sound of Music, or Chitty Chitty Gangbang, or whatever that was called. And um, and other times they'd show a string of old movies, like old black and whites, as a trick to bring in people. Okay,
Okay.
so and then other times the theaters near college campuses would show movies like Woodstock or Love Story or I don't know what, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off or something. Um, so each of those theaters has an audience.
Yeah.
And so the job was to tailor make a booking to attract a certain audience and then develop an ad using press material that the film company provides
Okay.
uh, to display it in a newspaper or in flyers. Okay.
That was
And that was my job. So to do all that. And so I loved it. It was great. It wasn't work.
cool.
And yeah,
Can I ask something on the movies in
yeah.
general? I think in Zurich, cinemas are having a comeback.
Mm.
That like now after everyone is sort of sick being at home looking at Netflix series and all of that, cinemas are having a comeback. Is that a global trend or is it just a Zurich thing?
No, it's global. And the more action, like the Tom Cruise um, fighter pilot or gangster type things, um, his character is so photogenic.
Uh-huh.
And they come up with these gimmicks of dangerous, they portray danger and he conquers the fear
Uh-huh.
and slays the bad guy and, America wins again, that kind of thing. So we'll see what happens now. But it used to work a lot. So I did that. And so what the highlight, just to give you an idea, So the owners of the movie theaters at that time, a long time ago, uh, were uh, old. They were old people.
Hmm.
Um, and so when something like the movie Woodstock comes along, which is about a bunch of grungy college kids, drunk or stoned, in the middle of a rainstorm in a meadow, watching rock and roll and screeching music. So the old man would say, we're not going to buy that thing. We're not going to show it. Who's going to go to watch that thing? So I said, other kids who look just like them. And you know where they are? They're in your college towns where you have property and movie theaters. So you should buy Woodstock before the word gets out that it's really a stupid cool movie, because the
Hmm.
audience in the theaters are going to come in stoned on marijuana or whatever. Mostly that's what it was at the time. And they're going to just sit there mesmerized, and they're going to come back a time and again, see it frequently, maybe with a different date each time. No, especially if you show it at midnight
Uh-huh.
on a weekend, in addition to the other times. So it's like, and he says, we're going to try that because most of their buddies were at that age. These are all very wealthy people. They own tons of property, and they put movie theaters as well as offices in their properties. All right. So they're not dummies, and they spot a trend and they move on it quick. So uh, we're having tuna fish sandwiches. I'll never forget this. Again, I was like 25, 26 years old, somewhere in there. And so I having tuna fish sandwiches with Coca-Cola at the desk watching this movie. Uh, and so my boss, who's the owner's son, and he was, as I mentioned, in his 40s, uh, says, "What is this? This is terrible." So I said, "No, they're going to get into the music. They're going to tell their friends. They're going to bring a friend and go see it a second time, maybe a third time." So at that time, when the owners or the film bookers, if you will, um, were trying to negotiate with Paramount Pictures or 20th Century Fox or whoever to buy the rights to show that thing. If it was a big hit, as I mentioned earlier, they'd have to come up with a bunch of money and a percentage, a higher percentage, say 50% of every ticket sale, not the popcorn. The owners keep the popcorn, but the money from food and beverage. But they share the film revenue from ticket sales.
Yeah.
And so Woodstock at the time, they were, it was Warner Brothers that was the distributor of that. And these guys know what they're doing. But they couldn't find buyers because they didn't know how to market the thing. They didn't know what they had
Okay.
until other people who were like me in Hollywood and New York, hey, this is how you do this. And then they did it. So I wrote a report to the owner and his son saying, you got to buy this before they start charging you $100,000 and 50% of the gross. Get it now and buy it and put it in every college campus cinema you got.
Did it work?
Quick. They made millions of dollars.
Amazing. And
Yeah.
Woodstock became a very famous movie.
Because of exactly what I wrote about. Now, I wasn't the only one who found that, but
Mhm.
I so one of the first to do it. And so
Awesome.
I was rewarded and promoted, and so then I don't know what happened, but uh, The Godfather came along, the original Godfather movie, and uh, they try they got smarter, and so they came in strong. The film company, it was Paramount Pictures. They came in strong saying we want $1 million guarantee. Okay, and you can play it in these theaters.
Hmm.
Okay, and they did it for in a couple of locations, and history is true. The movie was a gigantic hit, even at that costly price.
So let's say this is, where your breakthrough started.
Yeah.
First of all, what happened afterwards?
Well,
Did you get
I
being,
had some
into
personal
flow with it?
issues.
Yeah.
No, I
I have a
had some
second question.
personal issues, and I made some
Yeah.
personality mistakes,
Okay.
and so I uh, decided to get a real job, what I thought was a real job, wearing a blue suit and white shirt and tie in a bank. Uh,
Oh, goodness. That's when
yeah,
it all goes down the drain. When you start
it
in
was
banking.
really difficult,
Mhm.
and there was an early marriage that blew up, and it was just a confusing time
Mhm.
for me. And so, make a long story real short, I decided that I'm going back into that mindset and recapturing using Zoom and starting these programs and calling the Zoom room the global meeting room, bringing people together from across time and space,
Mhm.
from across borders and cultures, from across industries, silos, from across generations into this room with you today. Thank you.
And how how would you advise somebody who's a younger person who might, this current Generation Z, Alpha, they're sometimes a little bit confused. If somebody said, "Hey, I want to do something like Ed Cohen. I want to become like a host. I want to organize events where I host events, but also, I want to do that online, hybrid, offline." What kind of tip would you give that younger person? Apart from don't work in a bank.
So, um, I would, if I was to tell myself
Hmm.
to um, get counseling, but not like go to a shrink and lie down on a couch, but find help
Hmm.
through a friendship. It, it's probably almost like the same thing that's going on now with younger kids, Gen Z, who don't have social skills, developed. Some do, of course, but a lot don't. And I think that it was very, very similar. So, history repeats because it's human nature. So
Hmm.
if I had somebody like you as a relationship,
Hmm.
as a friend, you would tell me, get into yourself or, explore what you do well or what you want to do. And that's your calling
Hmm.
and take it step by step. And it's the relationships that count just as much as the position that you are searching for.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So get help and focus on building good relationships over the course of your professional life. Is that what safe?
Yeah, it
And
sounds like it's you know, Yoda talking to
Yoda.
whoever that was. But you need a Yoda. You need somebody who will be like a Yoda and not take advantage of you.
uh, like a
Okay.
trustworthy Yoda,
Right.
not just someone who wants to make money. And it's not so easy to find these people.
So the issue is that at that time I didn't have the maturity or the confidence
Mhm.
that I knew what I was doing, and I was being second guessing myself, and rather than just plow through, uh, which is what I should have done, but I didn't. And this is being recorded, so I'm editing myself as I'm going along. But I want to be helpful to the people. So you see this map behind me, this picture here?
That was my second question. I was going to ask, what's up with the map behind you?
So I didn't have time to take it down because it was up there on yesterday's show. So because I have hundreds of images and photos in my library here that I could access. I could do it right now if you want. But this is the US, of course, and this is the number of tech talent, high-tech talent
Yeah.
in the different cities around the US. And this is no, it's about a year old, but it's okay. Year and a half maybe. It's still relevant. So as you can see here, oh, I'll go this way. That's California in the lower left.
Hmm.
And you see San Francisco, Silicon Valley, and then below that LA, and below that San Diego, and then to the right Phoenix. And right there, there's let's see, 438,000 tech workers in Silicon Valley and LA, 250, and 80,000 in San Diego. These are all relevant to the size. So it's interesting. So it's where the companies are and where they have talent working.
Hmm.
In other words, domiciled,
Yeah.
not remote. Okay, because remote you can be anywhere. But and this is still true. In fact, the numbers are even bigger in every place. And then you look up there in the upper right, New York, Boston, Washington, Toronto, also huge. And and then in the center, which we used to call flyover country, is the little quiet there. A
Mhm.
lot of farms and oil wells and a lot of agriculture. That's where the tech companies are. So it's very interesting. The Silicon Valley is San Francisco area. It's a 1 hour flight from San Diego to uh, that area, 500 to 600 miles from here, where I am in San Diego on the Mexican border. So the companies like Apple, Google, Facebook, they're all in Silicon Valley. That's where they started. They want to get people who are well educated out of UCLA and USC and UC San Diego, in other words, University of California, huge state school in all these different places, UCLA, UC Berkeley, which is San Francisco, and UC San Diego and San Diego State. This is where all the kids are. Okay. So the companies in the Bay Area used to recruit from LA and San Diego in particular, and of course from the Northeast US to because of the allure of California, the the glow, and it worked for a long time. It still works, but it's very, very expensive. So the companies are sick and tired of spending all that money, so they're opening up office space in San Diego rather than have them relocate and cost all that money. Never
Right.
mind the life disruption. Just bring the plant to them and grow one here as well as there.
Just had this conversation in the last interview.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know, it's becoming a trend to have more, to hire people more remotely
right.
rather than moving them around the world. So this will be a shift for the global mobility industry, obviously. Um, Something just came to my mind in relationships. You mentioned. So if we look at global mobility, or if we look at talent or HR as an industry, um, I'm sure I'm sure professional relationships are important for everything that we do. It doesn't really matter. If I talk to executive leaders, C-level people, or if I talk to a junior person, everybody needs to learn how to network properly because most people don't like to do it. But one of the things I've been thinking about now while you were talking was the fact that you and I are still in touch after 20 years or whatever it is since we met initially has probably got to do something with the fact that you're actually following up with people. So, whenever you fall off my radar, I post something, I write something, and then you remind me to come back on your show. How do you do that? How do you keep track of, all these topics and all these people that you're dealing with? Because you're dealing with so many people all the time.
That's a great question. And the answer is that's my job. That is what makes me who I am. Uh, and if I do that well, that whole system,
Mhm.
so I'm going to describe the system in just a second. There's no secrets.
You have a
Anyone can do this. It's
I have a
just
brain. I don't
do
have
it.
a system.
Yeah. Yeah. So uh, the, I'm going to stay away from politics, but President Trump does the exact same thing as what I'm talking about. Now, I don't like the man, and I don't admire what he's doing now in particular,
Mhm.
but he has a plan and he's doing it. Now, he wasn't elected to do this thing. Again, I'm trying to stay away from politics, just talking about business and how to make the system do something. And he's breaking furniture while he's doing it and breaking people at
Mhm.
the same time, and that's not cool.
Mhm.
That's going to bite eventually. And the same thing in life. Okay, you do something to upset people or cause damage because you think it's better, they're going to come after you. In it's an old movie theme. The gangsters are fighting each other because they want something, and there's competing interests. And rather than talk it out, there's lawsuits, there's gunfights, uh, um, or something happens, and it. So I work on this system of recycling relationships, if you will. Um, Recycling relationships sounds bad, but it's actually what it is. In other words, you have a relationship that hasn't blown up.
Uh-huh.
There's some of those too, but mostly not. Oh, they've been repaired or forgotten. Um, but you see what's going on. If you know how to use LinkedIn, it's a gold mine of relationship possibilities.
Yeah.
And so, an example, very quickly. I look at what's going on LinkedIn
Mhm.
every day. I have favorite items that I follow, things that I just like to look at, and I don't. And I look at things that are going on LinkedIn that I don't have a taste for. I don't like, but I look anyway, and I see who's commenting or who's responding, and then not all the time, but something will click in my head or something that says, "Geez, I'd like to have that person be on the program someday, and no fee, no toll gate, but just come and experience this experience and use it as a public relations tool for your work, your business, your idea. And you might be introduced by me or you being on the same panel, in other words, on the screen, sharing the screen with someone who's also on that program.
Hmm.
like for instance Ken,
Yeah.
okay, and others. So by doing that, I am enabling connections. And most of the people who have the attitude that you and I have about professionalism and relationship building recognize that. They see it just like that. And okay, is this good? Well, it's good today. Let's make it work. And let's not worry about next week vis-a-vis the relationship at that moment. So I would see that somebody, let's say a woman, okay, that's could be a youngster who gets a big promotion or an opportunity, uh, or some old timer that switches industry or gets out of a silo and has a new job. You can see these announcements every day on LinkedIn with a picture of the person, and then you see the congratulations thing. And so I've taken to, not all the time, I've taken to introduce myself using the LinkedIn uh, and introduce myself, say I'm in San Diego, this is what I do, and I give a link to my YouTube channel and a link to my homepage, my website, and a link to my LinkedIn profile, and say, learn about me when you get around to it. I do TV shows. Are you good with being on camera? Oh, if you are uncomfortable, I have a training company called Global Press Club, and you'll be given opportunity to be on camera in a learning method. And I invite you to have a look. Here is this example, and here is another example. And I have shown some of our talks, one-on-ones, in the past.
I hope you didn't
And
go before and after. It's like,
no, no.
this is
And then
Amy 5 years ago. This is how she talks now.
no, I don't go. I keep all those old shows. There's over 1,000 on the YouTube channel,
Uh-huh.
and but then I show people in a group.
Yeah.
Small group could be one or two, in addition to me, um, or it could be in a larger group, like I've done occasionally. My sweet spot is a small group,
Mm-hmm.
me plus one or two
Mm-hmm.
or three max. That's what I shoot for now, rather than a big hoopla, because that doesn't work. Um,
So,
last night I had a show that was me plus six,
okay.
and,
Yeah.
and it was Asia Pacific.
Yeah.
And so I had these people from here and there and over there, and they took over. I didn't have to do any talking. They all just wanted to talk with each other.
Which is the best, the best you can do.
And it
And
was
on
great.
camera
It
and
was great.
on
It was
topic.
it was great television.
Yeah.
In other words, if I were producing a movie for the
Yeah.
movie theater, I would have done it that way. So you see, it's a straight line from when I was 25 to when I'm here, a lot
I
older.
see that now. I see that now. And
And
I'm
that
glad
is
we
the
had this
key.
conversation, Ed, because I learned so much more new things about you today. I somehow have a memory of you telling me that at some stage you were selling not phone books, but something that was as thick as a phone book, like a directory. Is that true?
Yeah, right, I've got one here.
Because that was how it was done in the back in the day.
Yeah, wait,
That's
I'll
how
show you.
business was done back in the day.
Okay, hold on.
And now I'm learning that you basically started like target marketing for target groups when that wasn't a thing yet.
Yeah, and so I don't know if you're going to be able to see this.
Yep. If you hold it directly in the camera, because with the screen, yeah, it's a little bit
Yeah,
the screen. Yeah, now we see it. Yeah,
yeah. Okay.
yeah,
So This is a glossy magazine called San Diego Bound, which is a relocation guide. In other words, a area economic development
Uh-huh.
tool with information about different communities, places to live, and lots of pretty pictures about housing and towns and availabilities. And um, we okay, so then I did that same thing for San Francisco, LA, Seattle, Chicago, Phoenix, Dallas, Houston, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Miami, Boston, Toronto. Uh,
This is great.
it was called US Bound. That was the company.
Wow.
And at the time in the US, I had an 800 number, 1-800 US Bound. Okay, so um, and
Okay.
that was it. And then I attached. This is in the print magazine. I had a tear out card, postage paid, and people will fill in information about themselves, what kind of house or apartment they're looking for, what's their price range.
Okay.
And then I shared that with my advertisers. So it was like proof of use, directing, connecting people looking for a place to live
Mhm.
with a realtor and a relocation company who will help them service. Otherwise, they would never meet.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously the internet has changed things.
Oh, well, it ruined my business at the
There are
time, but
many things where
uh,
no, but there are
yeah,
many things where we go back to the basics.
right, right.
Always, ever and ever again. So I can tell you there will be a recycling of brochures. You better hold on to that thing. You might need it.
Yeah. So you know what I'm doing now? I'm trying to launch a TV series called California Bound TV.
Okay.
That's my first one, and I'm trying to get New York Bound TV, and in other words, I will sell time to real estate or property owners or whatever, and that's how I would finance it.
Mhm.
Looking for sponsors who want to be associated with the idea of relocating or buying a home in this area
Mhm.
or renting an apartment.
You can also share some links if you have suitable links for that. We can put them in the show notes. Can you tell me a bit more about, what's upcoming for you, like the next event? Are you running any physical events in the next few weeks? Do you have anything big coming up? Summer travel? Ed, we're losing
Um,
it.
yeah, so it's a difficult time to organize and very expensive to organize people in a place.
Yeah.
Um, I myself don't want to travel
Mm.
as much. Uh, Joanne wants me to travel, but but um, so the plan for the rest of this year is to produce live meetings s- in probably London
Mhm.
and then maybe in Switzerland. Um, and if we can pull together a few people, then like some kind of a luncheon in Paris. Um, and and then go visit relatives. So Joanne's family originally is from Denmark, so uh,
Mhm.
they stay in touch. And we've been there before, and they've been over here. And then we have friends who are in the Algarve area of Portugal, no, southern Spain or Portugal, I can't remember. And then we have a great relationship with a couple in Zurich. As a matter of fact, they have a home, beautiful home, overlooking the lake.
Well,
Yeah,
sounds to me like
he's a big property owner in
sounds to
Zurich.
me like a TV talk show goes Europe.
Yeah, and so um, would love to travel into Tokyo and
Mhm.
Singapore and do meetings, but first of all, it's really expensive. Never mind the time
Yeah.
and the push. Uh, I don't know about how dangerous it would be personally, but um, I'm a little concerned about that also. It's crazy times. So we're going to go down to Mexico, the tip of Baja. It's
Okay.
about 1,000. It's about a
Nice.
thousand miles from here. Takes 2.5 hours. Um, and it's a favorite place. We stay right in the marina,
Mhm.
and so we're going to do that at the end of April,
Good.
and we're probably going to go over to Hawaii um, sometime after that. So we used to have have a condo in Maui, um, but COVID came along and wiped out. So this was a business of renting living space, buying the property and then renting it out
Mhm.
as a short-term housing, vacation rental. Okay, it's basically Joanne's business. I do some marketing.
Awesome. Ed, I really enjoyed having this conversation with you today. Enjoy your upcoming events and travel.
Thank you.
And I look forward to seeing you again on the TV talk at some stage in the near future or live in Zurich. We still have to do the cheese fondue thing with Joanne and yourself.
Ah,
See you
thank you
soon.
for reminding me. Thank you. Yeah. So you know what? Um, let's continue talking about that. That is really good. So I just want to leave the audience here with uh, this announcement.
Okay.
Uh, the new theme, the driving force of doing this program, doing my programs, which is very similar to this, is developing international business relationships, utilizing the global meeting room,
Sounds awesome.
bringing people together
Sounds
from
awesome.
across time and space, and at no fee, no entrance fee, no toll gate. Um, I've decided to continue that, not put up a toll gate, at the same time sourcing for co-sponsors and financial partners who want to promote